if you plant trees in very dense forests, the trees tend to suffocate themselves out. Similarly, if you plant them in a very dry, barren, open land, then those trees won't have the proper nutrition or water to grow healthy.
This is The Butterfly Effect, a podcast that shows the big impact a small action can do. Tali Orad is talking to those special people that make a difference with nature and trees.
Welcome everyone to this episode of The Butterfly Effect. My name is Tali Orad. I'm your host and your butterfly here. Today my special guest is Siddhant Desai. Siddhant is a junior at the Academy for Math, Science and Engineering in Rockaway, New Jersey. He understands the warming and nature crisis the Earth is now facing and is trying to use his knowledge and skills in computer science, programming and engineering to make a difference in the world. Welcome, Siddhant, to the Butterfly Effect.
I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
You are 16 years old, a junior in high school. Many kids at your age don't know what they want to be when they grow up, and yet you already have a mission to help the environment. Can you please tell us how you plan on doing that?
My real passion is nature. I love spending time outdoors. I love animals. I love plants. I'm an avid gardener. Me and one of my friends, we were thinking about how we could make a difference in the world. And one of the problems we thought was imminent and one we could fix was the problem of global warming and lack of trees.
That's ambitious.
Yes. We thought that this was something that if we didn't fix now, we would regret it. We would pay the consequences for many years in the future. We were thinking, and me and him, we run a robotics team, and we use our skills in computer science, engineering to make different types of prototypes to try and solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did was we created this prototype that takes in satellite images and determines good places or good locations to plant trees and what type of environment will be needed and what type of facilitation will be needed to help those trees grow big and strong and healthy.
And what are the objectives for the project?
What we're trying to do is we're obviously trying to maximize the amount of trees that we can plant throughout the world. But when planting trees, there's quite a few factors that come into play.
Mm-hmm.
So as we were doing our research, we found out that you can't just plant trees anywhere that there's soil or open space. We found out that if you plant trees in very dense forests, the trees tend to suffocate themselves out, and that would not be an ideal place. Similarly, if you plant them in a very dry, barren, open land, then those trees won't have the proper nutrition or water to grow healthy. Our objective was to find places that would be just perfect for trees. Not only could we maximize the amount of trees we plant, we could also make it efficient and as cost effective as possible.
And what is the stage for the project?
We are doing our project right now locally on a machine. We are planning to export it and make it into a much bigger interface. At the moment, we have been, training it on our own computers, working online and offline with each other,
Mm-hmm.
creating many different prototypes and trying to figure out which one would work best.
And basically what you do is you take satellite images of areas of trees, and then by that you have an algorithm that maps it and find the optimal place to plant. Do you also find the optimal tree to plant there, or that you leave to the experts?
What our project is capable of doing, and it takes the satellite image and it determines the places to plant trees. Now, what we're currently working on with the project and what we think is the next step is we find the location of that satellite image, and using that location, we're able to pull data about the weather, about the rainfall, about the different soil qualities, that using that data, intelligence will be able to make the best prediction possible, knowing which trees to plant.
So you cross-reference with the satellite images that you find in public resources and the data regarding the region, whether it's the weather, whether it's the soil, the native trees, etc., etc., and with that make the prediction on the best trees to plant.
Yes, correct. We API to different sources and are able to pull data that we use to try and make predictions.
And what are your biggest challenges in the project?
Our project is based off a algorithm called image processing.
Mhm.
And image processing is a type of machine learning. With all machine learning, what you need is a lot of data. So our biggest challenges thus far has been finding sufficient data to train our model. Right now, it's pretty hard to get satellite imagery of very remote locations around the world. So we are limited to images that either NASA or other organizations have published. That data can be sparse. So our biggest challenge is with the limited data, how do we make the most accurate model possible?
I see. And a silly question, is Google Maps not going to be enough for you?
We have tried APIing to Google Maps, but the issue with that is quality or the resolution is not very great. So our model has trouble kind of identifying what can be what, right? So it's going to be hard for it to identify dense forest versus sparse tree planting just because the clarity of the images is not as good as what we can get from high quality satellite pictures.
I see. And is your algorithm able to identify the type of trees there, or is it just identify the canopy?
At the moment, we are not able to identify the type of trees. And I think that kind of goes back to we try to make our best guess using the data available.
Right.
But using the canopy, we can kind of tell the tree density.
Of cluster of trees.
If the image is of, for example, the canopy of the Amazon forest, then we know that this is a very densely planted part of the forest already, or this part has been deforested. So we can kind of make some predictions based off the image of multiple trees.
So those are the challenges. How are you planning on overcoming them?
As we continue to upscale our project and make it more accessible to other people, we're hoping that we can start to get more satellite images through some private data sources. There's plenty of satellite images out there, but not many of them have been published publicly. So our goal would be to get more organizations interested in our project that we can train with.
So collaborations with others, so you can train your algorithm and find better places to plant trees. So when we actually plant them, they will survive and will function the way they should be and not die.
Correct, exactly.
Have you done any testing to see if it actually works?
We were able to test our model using satellite images, and the results have been promising. We tested it with multiple different cases, for example, deserts, very dense forests, satellite imagery of deforestation in the Amazon. And each time our model has been able to predict correctly and give us a good ratio to plant trees.
And you went back to those people that lives there and asked them to plant, or it's just you identified it and now you know?
So yeah, as of now, we've only identified it. We haven't really reached out anywhere and actually done physical planting.
And you didn't publish it anywhere, so people can't access some sort of database and see, oh, great, we can plant here. That will be awesome.
No, right now we're still trying to work on it, make it as refined as possible, but hopefully sometime soon we'll be able to publish it publicly and it can be a great tool.
Yes, I totally agree. I mean, at 1 trillion, we are planting the planet, and we sure can use a tool like that. It will shorten our vetting process on planting locations.
Yeah.
Who funds this project?
This project is actually self-funded by me and my friend. We are a robotics team, so we participate in competitions which often give us some monetary prize. We also offer classes for donation that helps fund our project. So we offer different STEM related classes about coding, Scratch, engineering, solving the Rubik's Cube. And using those classes, we're able to raise quite a bit of funds to help fund our project.
So you are a 16-year-old entrepreneur with a mission to save the world.
Correct.
I love it. It's not a part of a school project, right? It's an initiative that you and your friend came up with. Nothing with the
Correct.
school?
No affiliation with their schools. We actually came up with this. We were at a hackathon. And what a hackathon is it's basically a competition that you go to, and you have 24 hours to create a project.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. There's no restrictions. You can do whatever you want, but the best project wins. So me and my friend were there, and we try to have a consistent theme of trying to make projects that help the world in some way or another. We both are nature lovers. We thought, why don't we do something to help our one and only Earth? Why don't we do something to slow down global warming? And we did some research, and we found out that trees are the key to keep our warming levels down and reduce the amount of carbon dioxide in the air.
Where do you see this project being used the most when you finish?
We want this to target two main platforms. One, to be in our local communities. We want people to be able to plant locally where they can physically go out and plant trees. For example, in their parks, at schools.
Mm-hmm.
But we also want this to be internationally. For example, places like the Amazon, where deforestation is taking a toll on thousands of animals and the forest as a whole. We want to be able to identify where those trees are needed most. If not us, but other organizations that are committed to planting trees can really pinpoint locations that we feel would be best to plant trees.
Were you thinking of joining a university research or reaching out to the UN to see if it's of interest to them or not yet?
This started off as a little kind of a 24-hour project that we were going to do at a competition. As we came out of that competition, we realized it can be so much more. We've put countless hours into it. Right now, our focus is to kind of make this prototype as proficient as possible and then make it public. After that, I mean, the possibilities are endless, where we can reach out and what we can do with it.
I'm sure you didn't start with building an AI algorithm. Were there others environmental projects you were involved in?
We started out with simple projects to detect where there was a lack of trees. We simply filtered in just a picture, and we just counted the amount of trees in the picture. That was our first exposure to artificial intelligence, machine learning. We filtered in pictures and we counted how many trees there were.
So that was the initial concept.
Off of that idea, we were like, this can be a lot more. We started trying to manipulate or trying to change the program to accommodate satellite imagery and kind of all the other things that I talked about earlier.
So this is how you started with this project.
Right.
Are you doing anything at school about the environment? Is there like a club? Is there like a class? Anything that the school got you excited about?
We have a club at school called the Hope Club. It's not specifically environmental based, but it does a lot of things to kind of help the environment. So every year we have this thing where we go out and plant trees. We go to our parks, local public areas, and just plant trees. Through school, I got the real hands-on experience that I wanted to understand what trees needed to grow. And I think that really helped filter into the AI to help organize our data.
What did you learn from planting those trees?
It was really, really fascinating how such a small sapling can grow into such a large tree that is home to thousands and thousands of animals.
Mm-hmm.
And in the grand scheme of things, how little that tree really needs, how little that tree takes from us, how little effort we need to give to that tree for it to become such a large contributor to our environment. And honestly, I think that's really amazing because it was eye-opening for me to see how much or how crazy, almost it was that these little trees turn into the big things that we see all around us.
Yeah. Yeah. We should trust Mother Nature, and we should, wherever we can, let nature do its job. Sid, I appreciate you noticing it and mentioning it here. Were you involved in the process from the beginning? I mean, the collecting of the seeds, sprouting them, monitor their growth till the actual act of planting? Or was it just digging the hole in the ground and giving them their final permanent home?
The way it started for me was we got saplings in a small little pot. Our goal was to take those trees from those pots and put them in the ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
But actually, at home, I've started a tree and used those skills that I learned from school. And I got a seed from a local nursery and I sprouted my own tree, and it's actually sitting in my front yard at the moment. So I think that was a really cool initiative.
I agree. It's pretty cool. What
Mhm.
what tree was that?
It was a pine tree, just
Yeah.
one of the
It's
standard pine tree seeds.
it's more than standard. It's
Hmm.
natural environment. If you'll bring something like a banana tree and you'll put it in New Jersey, I don't think it will survive. So I'm
Right.
I'm happy that you went with the natural thing that supports the ecosystem.
Right.
How many kids were involved in the planting?
The club has around 29 to 30 kids. So I would say there were quite a lot of kids that, kind of came out and we just planted trees for a couple of hours. And it was really relaxing and honestly very enjoyable.
How did it make you feel when you actually went and planted?
It was a great sense of almost pride that I was able to do something that is really helping the environment, and I'm able to take out 2 hours of my school day to go out and plant almost hundreds of trees that
Mhm.
will really make a huge difference in the coming years to our environment. So I think it was like a great sense of pride, a great sense of achievement, and overall it really feels great.
Do you go back to the site for maintenance or just to see them grow?
Every couple months we go out, we remulch the beds that we planted the trees in.
Mhm.
If need be, we fertilize, trimming, anything that the trees need, any help that we can give the trees.
And how do you feel when you walk in that forest that you created?
It's amazing. I mean, just to see the growth of the trees. We plant them as little saplings, less than a foot tall, and
Right.
within one season they're almost double the size. It's kind of amazing to see what we were able to do with just a few little trees.
Yes. It's expected to feel proud after you planted and you go back. Would you suggest your friends to take a walk in the forest? Does it help you emotionally in any way?
Personally, when I'm around nature, I feel like I can think, I can relax. I feel less anxious. I'm able to kind of forget any of the stress or anything that I'm anxious about and kind of just spend time with nature. It's a really great way to invigorate all five of your senses and kind of just be part of the moment.
Yeah. Well, I'm not surprised. There are studies that show the psychological benefits of walking through the forest. One example is a study done in Japan where participated reported just walking for 15 minutes, they were less anxious and less depressed. And I think it's more important. You say you're in high school for a high school kid that is so stressed anyway with all
Hmm.
studies and everything. So
Right,
I'm happy school gives you that opportunity and that you take it and do it on your own and just go, which is important.
right.
I know you also take part of the FXB Climate Advocates Program, which serves to inform and empower and mobilize youth to act on climate emergency. What exactly are you doing with them?
I think so far in FXB, there have been two real main parts that have kind of interested me. The first would be the climate bubbles that they have, is basically where speakers about different things, different topics relating to climate change come in, show us how different aspects of it impact and have consequences on different parts of the world. Another part is there's a group that is being created by one of my friends, and it's basically a group that uses AI and technology to solve climate related problems.
And in those bubbles, was there a topic or a specific speaker that got you excited about a topic you didn't know?
One of them that we attended was, or that I attended, was about environmental problems and climate change can really lead to mental stress or mental anxiety in
Hmm.
um, in thousands of people. And I think this was one aspect of climate change that I really had never considered before. I never knew that people were so impacted personally by climate change that it can stress them out this much and, create so much anxiety. That was really eye-opening because it really shows that climate change is beyond plants and animals. It's really within us as well. And I think it shows how imminent the problem is and we need to be able to fix it.
That is true. So it's more than just heat wave and rising of sea levels
Hmm.
and melting icebergs. It goes throughout the life circle, and we should take it seriously. And I'm happy that you do, because we need all of us to take action, and we need all of us to do something. And even if it's the smallest one, I mean, you mentioned planting 100 trees. One can say, well, it's just 100 trees. The
Hmm.
other can say, if all of us will just plant 100 trees, we can solve that problem very, very soon.
Right.
And that's the butterfly effect. You just
Hmm.
need one to start, and they will be a bigger impact. And I appreciate what you're doing. This is great. By the way, what is your favorite tree?
The banyan tree. And it's not a tree that we get to see in the United States. I am of Indian origin and I go to India every couple of years. And I think it's really amazing how the variety of trees and plants kind of varies across the world. The banyan tree is very large and it provides so much for the people of India. It provides shade, it provides a place where many people use as their homes, they sleep there. It also provides very valuable fiber that rope is made of.
Mm-hmm.
It also has its own medicinal properties, is a natural antioxidant, and many antibacterials are made from its leaves. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that tree really, even though I haven't been able to spend much time with it, but however much time I have spent in India with it has been, really great. It's a tree with so many purposes, so many different uses.
I I appreciate that you mentioned that you are Indian origin, and that you are going back to your roots, and hopefully learn a little bit more of not just your heritage, but also your nature heritage, if I may call it like this,
Hmm.
and kind of like to learn about the tree that gives you all. It's that
Hmm.
giving tree of medicine and shelter and all those cool things. So I appreciate that you mentioned that.
Hmm.
And you told me before that you speak Gujarati. I hope I pronounce it well.
Right, Gujarati. Yeah, it's a language from northwest India. It's a state in India, Gujarat,
Hmm.
and it's a language spoken there.
Cool. So how do you say tree in that language?
Tree is jad. Jad is how you
Yeah.
pronounce it. Yes.
Okay. That is pretty cool. Thank you so much for joining me today. I can't wait to see the system you develop and people are using it globally, and hopefully we plant more trees thanks to that.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you.
And thank you everybody for joining us today. We are all beautiful butterflies, each in his and her individual ways. I wanted to thank you for joining me today in this episode. I really appreciate you coming on this journey with me, and I hope to see you next time. And remember, it only takes a small action to make a big difference. Be a butterfly.
And that's all for this episode. Thank you for joining us today. Please subscribe to hear more of our stories of change.